Hey, welcome to World Code Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Hungary, long at the heart of Europe, has been a nation of rich history and cultural intersections. Its identity has always been shaped by its Western ties, a bridge between East and West. Hungary joined NATO in 1999 and the EU in 2004, embracing democracy and free markets, marking a new era of integration and cooperation. For years, Hungary's Western path seemed certain, a beacon of progress and stability in the region. But today, September 16, 2025, Hungary stands at a significant crossroads, a moment of profound decision-making. The country is turning away from Brussels and Washington, looking instead to the east, exploring new alliances. Led by Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Hungary is forging new partnerships with China and Russia, seeking fresh opportunities. Orban argues that Hungary's future isn't just in the West, he sees new opportunities elsewhere, in the rising powers of the East. This shift is sparking intense debate across Europe and beyond, challenging long-held assumptions. Hungary's move challenges the idea of a united Europe built on shared values, questioning the very fabric of European unity. Can a country be in the EU and NATO while deepening ties with China and BRICS? This is the question on everyone's mind. Hungary is forcing Europe to confront these questions, pushing the boundaries of traditional alliances. The issue is about more than politics. It's about national identity, the soul of a nation at a pivotal moment. Is Hungary destined for the West, or can it bridge East and West, creating a unique path forward? The choices made now will define Hungary's future for generations, shaping the lives of its youth and the nation's destiny. They'll also impact the stability and direction of Europe as a whole, influencing the continent's future. The world is watching Hungary's next move, as the stakes are high and the implications vast. The stakes are high and the outcome is uncertain, a moment of suspense on the global stage. Hungary's decision will echo far beyond its borders, resonating across continents and shaping international relations. Which path will it choose? The world waits with bated breath to see the direction Hungary will take. For centuries, Hungary's fate was closely intertwined with the fortunes of Western Europe, its culture and politics, shaped by the ebb and flow of European history. From its Christianization in the Middle Ages to its central role in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, Hungary's identity was deeply rooted in the European tradition, sharing in the continent's triumphs and tragedies. After the fall of communism in 1989, Hungary's embrace of democracy and its accession to the European Union and NATO seemed to confirm its Western orientation, promising a future of integration and prosperity. Billions in EU funding poured into the country, transforming Hungary's economy, modernizing its infrastructure, and connecting it more closely to the rest of Europe. But a dramatic change began in 2010, when Viktor Orban returned to power, bringing with him a new vision for Hungary's place in the world. Orban launched what he called an Eastern Opening, initially focused on economic opportunities, seeking new markets, investments, and partnerships with countries like China and Russia, beyond the traditional Western sphere. Over time, this economic outreach evolved into a broader political pivot, signaling a willingness to challenge the established order and seek alternatives to Western alliances. Orban's government now openly challenges EU policies, often blocking joint statements critical of China or Russia, and positioning Hungary as a dissenting voice within the European bloc. While most of Europe views China and Russia as strategic rivals, Hungary has chosen to call them partners, deepening diplomatic and economic ties even as tensions rise elsewhere. This approach has created a significant rift within the EU, raising questions about unity and the future direction of the European project. Hungary is now charting a path that is increasingly distinct from its Western allies, asserting its sovereignty and independence on the global stage. It's a historic shift, one that is redefining Hungary's place in the world and reshaping the balance of alliances in Europe. The country is no longer anchored solely to the West, but is instead navigating a new course, seeking its own unique role in a rapidly changing world. Viktor Orban's vision for Hungary is firmly rooted in the principle of national sovereignty, what he proudly calls the Hungarian model. This approach is not just a political slogan but a guiding philosophy that shapes every aspect of his government's policies and decisions. Orban openly rejects the idea that Western liberal democracy is the only legitimate path for a nation's development. He argues that Hungary has the right to choose its own way, even if it means diverging from the mainstream European consensus. According to Orban, global institutions like the European Union have become too powerful, often imposing their will on member states and infringing on their national rights. He believes that these organizations sometimes undermine the unique traditions and interests of individual countries. This has led to frequent clashes between his government and Brussels, especially over contentious issues like immigration policy, media freedom, and the rule of law. Orbán's administration insists on making decisions that reflect Hungarian values, even if it means facing criticism from the West. The Hungarian model also places a strong emphasis on state control over key industries, prioritizing the interests of Hungarian companies and workers. Orbán's government has taken steps to ensure that strategic sectors remain in national hands, believing this strengthens the country's independence. While Orbán is often skeptical of Western investors, who he sees as bringing political expectations, he is far more welcoming to partners from the East. He views Chinese and Russian investments as opportunities that come without the same political strings attached. In Orbán's view, countries like China and Russia respect Hungary's sovereignty and offer valuable economic opportunities, allowing Hungary to grow without being pressured to change its political system or values. This approach resonates deeply with his political base, who see it as a way to protect Hungary's identity and future. It has also fueled Hungary's strategic pivot toward the East, seeking new alliances and markets. For Orbán, the East represents not just economic growth but a chance to preserve Hungary's independence in a rapidly changing world. He believes that by diversifying partnerships, Hungary can avoid over-reliance on any single power bloc. Ultimately, the Hungarian model is about charting a unique and independent path, one that resists outside pressure and puts national interests first, regardless of international trends. This doctrine now defines Hungary's foreign policy, setting it apart on the world stage and shaping its future direction. Hungary has embraced China like no other EU country. It was the first EU member to join China's Belt and Road Initiative, the flagship project, a high-speed rail line from Budapest to Belgrade, financed by Chinese loans. Chinese investment is transforming Hungary's economy, especially in electric vehicles. CATL, the world's largest battery maker, is building a massive factory in Debrecen. Other Chinese companies like BYD and Huawei are also investing heavily. Hungary is becoming a European hub for electric vehicles and technology. The government praises these partnerships as vital for Hungary's future. By aligning with China, Hungary gains jobs, technology, and political leverage within the EU. But this deepening relationship also increases Hungary's economic dependence on Beijing. Hungary is positioning itself as China's key partner in Europe. The benefits are clear, but so are the risks. Hungary's pivot isn't just about China, it's about joining a new global club. The country is courting the BRICS group, a bloc of rising powers led by China, Russia, and India. Hungary's interest in BRICS is unprecedented for an EU and NATO member. Officials see BRICS as a platform for influence and a way to connect East and West, but joining BRICS would challenge Hungary's Western commitments and create conflicts of interest. How can Hungary stand with NATO against Russia while partnering with Russia in BRICS? For Orbán, BRICS is about options. Hungary won't be tied exclusively to the West. The world is becoming multipolar, and Hungary wants to be flexible. This ambition is reshaping Hungary's foreign policy. It's a bold move for a small country at the crossroads of Europe. Hungary is betting on a future where it can play all sides. Hungary's eastern pivot has strained its ties with the EU. Brussels accuses Orbán's government of undermining democracy and the rule of law. Billions in EU funds have been frozen, putting financial pressure on Hungary. The EU demands reforms, but Orbán calls it political blackmail. This standoff has deepened divisions, with Hungary blocking EU sanctions and statements against Russia and China. Hungary's actions frustrate its partners and undermine European unity. The country is increasingly isolated within the EU. Critics say Hungary is no longer a team player. The conflict raises questions about the EU's ability to act as a unified bloc. Hungary's defiance is testing the limits of European integration. The rift is growing and the consequences are serious. Can the EU function when one member consistently goes its own way? Hungary's foreign policy is dividing the nation. Supporters see the eastern pivot as pragmatic. China's investments are creating jobs and boosting industry. They argue Hungary is finally acting independently, free from Western dictates. For many, Orbán's stance is a source of national pride. Critics, however, fear Hungary is trading its future for short-term gains. They warn of isolation from the West and dependence on authoritarian regimes. There are concerns about debt traps and lack of transparency in Chinese deals. Some fear Hungary is importing an authoritarian model that threatens its democracy. The debate is about more than foreign policy. It's about Hungary's identity. The nation is at a crossroads, and the stakes are high. Which vision will prevail? Hungary's eastern pivot brings clear rewards: economic growth, jobs, and political leverage. Chinese investment is transforming Hungary into a leader in electric vehicles. By diversifying partners, Hungary gains flexibility and autonomy. Orban's government can negotiate with both East and West, boosting its influence. But the risks are just as real. Hungary is becoming isolated within the West, straining ties with the EU and NATO. Overdependence on China could lead to debt traps and loss of sovereignty. Chinese influence may shape Hungary's media, academia, and politics. If a security crisis erupts, Hungary might lack Western support. The country is betting its future on a risky strategy. The outcome is uncertain, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Hungary's gamble could reshape its destiny. Hungary's pivot is a test for the European Union itself. Can the EU survive if members openly align with rivals like China and Russia? Hungary's actions challenge the EU's unity and global influence. The country is opening a gateway for Chinese influence in Europe. Other nations may follow Hungary's example, seeking investment from the East. This could split Europe into a core and a periphery, fundamentally changing the EU. Hungary's story is a warning about the fragility of unity. The choices made in Budapest will ripple across Europe for years. Whether Hungary becomes a bridge or a cautionary tale remains to be seen. Europe's future is being shaped on the banks of the Danube.